welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, talking all things professional wrestling. So, go to grab your favorite beverage, grab your favorite snack. We're going to talk about, some good old-fashioned wrestling. Don't be too shy. Make sure you hit up the Tips of the Nations link at the, make sure you send some chats, talk to me. I want to hear you guys' opinion about some things, professional wrestling. We love other fans by kind of, the best way wrestling fans get along is I feel like the more they kind of disagree, which is kind of crazy. But ultimately, I don't know. I just feel like that's always a huge, kind of home run in terms of professional wrestling. So thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. On tap today, we have our WWE NXT review. We have our AEW Dynamite preview. We also have power rankings in the men's first, segment 3. Segment 4, we talk about the women's power rankings. And, last but not least, definitely not least, our segment 5, we're going to talk about wrestling surrounding the professional wrestling, wrestling news surrounding the professional wrestling, industry. So yeah, let's dig on into it. But before we move on, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Shoot me your questions, comments, and concerns. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you want to see in terms of, future AEW plans. Maybe you may probably have heard that maybe Shane McMahon could possibly be joining AEW. I think, at this point, it seems kind of dire. It seems kind of, I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, honestly, use this link at the gsmcpodcast.net to, share your opinion, share your thoughts, share your beliefs. This show's a hell of a lot better with a lot of audience engagement. Other than that, I'm just rambling on for an idiot, as an idiot for minutes on minutes. I'm just kidding. No, just kidding. But once again, the link is at the gsmcpodcast.net. So, all right, let's do it. We have WWE NXT review. Let's jump on into it. First, we have Ethan Page addresses the NXT universe. It only took Ethan Page 6 weeks. Wow. 6 weeks to take over the NXT entirely. Kind of crazy, all ego. Obviously, he's from AEW, wrestled sometime in Total Nonstop Action, Impact Wrestling. But I'm happy for Ethan. I think in terms of wrestling, I think in terms of promos and stuff like that, I feel like having the belt on Trick was good. It was great. He's a great superstar. But it got to the point where you're like, kind of like a Cody Rhodes. It kind of reminded me of Cody Rhodes, where you kind of see him like beating people over and over again. And it's just like this total baby face. And you're like, man, we kind of we want someone a little bad. Maybe someone a little bad. And then that's when Ethan Page came in. You could say he fell on into it. Like, you know what I mean? I kind of fell on into the NXT World Heavyweight Championship, and he had this huge smile on his face. It was kind of cool. It was, it was pretty funny. Honestly, Ethan Page is, he's all ego, but most importantly, he's all man. He's all man, 110%. One of the best wrestlers, probably WWE NXT has today. Maybe even WWE. Maybe he finds his way, and he makes a debut, on the main roster, probably within the next draft, or maybe perhaps sooner. So, definitely love that, 1,010%. He did bring up something that I've been kind of reiterating over and over again on this podcast, that he mentioned how Trick Williams likes to refer to Shawn Spears, Lexis King, and himself, Ethan Page, as like outsiders. Obviously they have, they came from AEW. They've, they have a background that's not really WWE. They haven't really been brought in or brought up by WWE, but this was just more of another shot at Trick Williams. I kind of liked it. I kind of like how Ethan Page kind of made it a little, kind of put AEW on the spot there once again. Like we talked about it in our last episode. We had CM Punk, Jade Cargill, also Cody Rhodes make it back home to WWE, and then you had Ethan Page, talent from NXT, from AEW, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how as soon as you make it to the WWE roster, there's kind of there's a lot of opportunities, a hell of a lot of opportunities to be honest. But no, honestly, I thought that was actually pretty kind of pretty conniving that Ethan Page would kind of bring that up within his promo. Now we're not in that whoop that trick era. We are now in the era of ego. And the moment he said that, you saw Trick Williams come out. Whoop that trick, whoop that trick, whoop that. Whoop that trick came out. He wanted a rematch. I want a rematch tonight. And Ethan Page is like, you know what? No, man, I'm good. I'm good. You can't demand anything from me because you were yesterday. I'm today. I'm the new NXT World Heavyweight Champion. All ego, Ethan Page. What goes down in this company is the face of this company, and you're looking at him. And that's exactly why you love Ethan Page. The moment he stepped into the ring for his debut, the way he kind of, structured his contract around Trick Williams defending his NXT World Championship against him, it was pretty badass. It was pretty cool. Definitely love that, that tenacity, that ambition, that determination. So, Ethan Page is going to be really, really, I feel like he's going to do great. He's going to be great in WWE NXT. And then, of course, then you saw Shawn Spears come out. You also saw Javon Evans. And then you had the four facing each other. But then once again, Javon Evans and Trick Williams end up fighting off Spears and Ethan Page. So, much like the last couple of episodes of NXT, Tuesday Night NXT, it's been kind of the same. And, they, kind of, makes me a little like, okay, like, I feel like there needs to be something done about this Javon Evans and Trick Williams kind of situation. I want, Trick Williams is obviously a star. He's a huge star. He's definitely the face of NXT. Well, not the face of NXT anymore, but beforehand he was. He was. And then you have Javon Evans. Javon Evans is this 20-year-old that has a promising future within WWE NXT. Obviously, they're probably going to give him the strap next, but right now they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So might as well, kind of create some kind of turmoil here. Maybe have like a nice little, back and forth rivalry between the two. Kind of sets up like a Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, where these guys, they kind of grew up within the wrestling industry together. They fought when they were, kind of down in the rankings. They fought when they were in the middle, and they ultimately fought at their best at, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. You saw Bret Hart and you saw Shawn Michaels duke it out often. So, maybe this could be perhaps like another, another worthy, most notably, WWE NXT rivalry between Trick Williams and Javon Evans. All right, next we have Karmen Petravic. Karmen Petravic picks up the victory against Arianna Grace. Obviously, you saw the two tag teaming, the two fellow Canadian wrestlers. They tag teamed together to face and defeat JC Jane and also Jasmine Nix at WWE NXT Heat Wave on Sunday. Obviously, you saw Fallon Henry. Fallon Henley is, what is she doing? What is she doing right now? Fallon Henley, she's a huge heel. Obviously, that's kind of, JC Jane loves it. She loves it. Jasmine Nix loves it. So you have Nix, you have Jane, and now you have Fallon Henley. That's going to be like, top three dogs right now on WWE NXT. Should be interesting to find out what happens with that. Next, you see Brooks Jensen. Brooks Jensen sitting in the office. Basically, Ava, the general manager of WWE NXT, saying to Brooks, like, hey, man, like, I honestly didn't want to bring you back because of everything you pulled, all the BS you pulled, man. What the hell were you thinking? It's like, oh man, I wasn't thinking. I swear to God, if I get a second chance, and then Ava granted him his second chance, as well as Shawn Michaels as well. But Brooks Jensen still on thin ice. Obviously, later on in the in the not pay-per-view, later on in the show, you kind of saw it kind of blow up in Ava's face. But pretty crazy, pretty interesting. Next, we have the NXT Heritage Cup Championship match between Alexis King and Tony D'Angelo, the dawn of WWE NXT. You saw D'Angelo pick up the first fall, and then you saw King follow it up with the second fall, and then you saw the Dawn retain the WWE NXT Heritage Cup Championship, which are kind of, I thought that was going to happen. I really don't see where Alexis King kind of really has any leverage in his character or like with his story development to kind of have that Heritage Cup. He was all by himself. Obviously, he did not have anyone in his corner. When he pinned Tony D'Angelo, the fans, the audience, they were like, oh, like this guy's gonna actually make it a match. But in reality, you're like, dude, like we all know what's gonna happen. We all know what's going to happen. Alexis King is nowhere near the talent level of Tony D'Angelo. Alexis King, although he recently beat Dante Chen in a samurai match. No, a kendo stick match. It was a kendo stick match. Kind of crazy. It was kind of cool. Obviously, momentum anywhere in terms of professional wrestling is, pivotal. But I just don't see how Lexus King becomes bigger than he actually is right now in WWE NXT. Obviously, that's my opinion, 1,010%. If you have anything different from that, hit up the chat section. Tell me how you feel. But, right now, I feel like Lexus King, I don't know, it's time for him to kind of break out. So we just got done talking about Brooks Jensen. Brooks Jensen was just granted a second chance by WWE NXT General Manager Ava. And then he saw him backstage attacking Javon Evans, the young OG, which was not good. You saw Josh Briggs come out. He was like, dude, I stuck my neck out for you. I put my head out on a limb. I put my head out for it to be cut off just so they give you a second chance back into this company. And the Brooks Jensen's like, oh, all cocky. He's like, oh, I didn't need that. This is on me. This is on me. This isn't about you. And, he kind of looks like an arse. Kind of looks like an arse. I don't really think Brooks Jensen, I don't see him carrying the WWE NXT World Championship. I saw him maybe go to WWE, maybe to go to Impact Wrestling TNA, but that was still kind of pushing it. But right now, I just don't see Brooks Jensen being any more successful than, his current role in WWE NXT right now. That's just, me being honest. Um, like I said, Josh Briggs advocating for Josh Brooks. Then you saw Gallus. Gallus defeats Tyson and Tyreek. Gallus honestly really, really needed this match. It got to the point where they debuted about a month ago, and they really didn't do anything. You had you had Joe Kofi fight with Wesley and the NXT North American champion Obafemi in a match, but besides that, didn't really prove any dividends. Besides that, you saw them attack Trick Williams a couple of times. Nothing really kind of deciphered off of that or kind of bloomed in terms of wrestling storyline for Gallus. So this match was huge. I feel like this match was really huge that Gallus was able to pick up the victory. But yeah, only time will tell what happens with Gallus. Next, you saw Wesley. Wesley came out looking depressed as hell. Thought it was going to happen. Thought ultimately it was inevitable. Thought that he was going to retire. Thought that he was going to lead the WWE NXT universe. But then, once when he started to address in his future, and he had those words coming out, he even admitted to it backstage. He was like, "Oh, it's going out there, ready to quit." You saw the Rascals from TNA Impact, his former tag team champions. They, obviously formerly known from WWE NXT. So, now it's kind of revitalized. Now you have those three guys together. There's no doubt in my mind, maybe they're the next one to challenge Nathan Frazier and Axiom for the WWE NXT World Tag Team Championships. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. And next we got Thea Hale going. She defeated Izzy Dame, which was actually pretty impressive. By submission, Thea Hale takes down the powerhouse Izzy Dame. Izzy Dame still, once again, she was featured on TNA Impact Wrestling last Thursday night. They didn't bring that up, which was, still kind of surprising. But once again, it was still kind of frustrating. I was like, I don't like that. Like, you know what I mean? If you're having a collaboration with another wrestling promotion, you still owe them the same respect that they're paying to you. You know what I mean? Next, we saw Gallus confront the Rascals. Those guys are going to go at it. And then Gallus brought up, we don't want the rest of TNA popping up. So, obviously more hidden Easter eggs within WWE NXT tonight. OTM defeated the OC. Fallon Henley versus Soruka. JC Jane and Jasmine Nix got in the mix. The main event, you saw Shawn Spears teaming up with AEW World Champion Ethan Page, taking on Trick Williams. And since Javon Evans was injured, we had a mystery partner, and it was like I thought it was going to be. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. And he made it. He made it to the WWE. I love it. He looks like a WWE superstar. He won his first match on NXT. Absolutely. He's a dog. He's a dog. He could very much be Ethan Page. Ethan Page used to wrestle for TNA, a familiar foe. So Joe Hendry came in, did what he did best. You saw the fans absolutely behind him be like, we believe, we believe, we believe every single time he was in the ring and stuff like that. It was exciting. It was cool. Definitely kept me on the edge of my seat. I have not felt that excitement, from a WWE NXT episode in a long time. So I thought that was super dope, super awesome. We in the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast believe in Joe Hendry. We believe in Joe Hendry. All right, so now, just got done with our WWE NXT review. Now we're going to jump on into our AEW Dynamite preview. Do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into the subject matter, talk all things, all elite as soon as we come back. So, hey, stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right. We're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about right quick. We talked about our WWE NXT review, sorry. And now we're going to talk about our AEW Dynamite preview. So let's dig on into it. But before I dig on into that, I want to remind you guys to use the GSMC, podcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. This puts your questions up on top so I can see it. We get a number of questions from viewers like you that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air for the millions of people, make sure you hit up the GSMC podcast.net and tell me your feelings. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Most importantly, tell me how you feel about professional wrestling as we speak. AEW, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Professional Wrestling. Sometimes we hit on Stardom. Sometimes the MLW, the National Wrestling Alliance. It all, kind of happens. So, don't be afraid to hit up that. There are no wrong answers. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. And let's dig on into our next segment. We have our AEW Dynamite preview. So, yeah. AEW Dynamite is live tonight from Calgary, Alberta. Oh, no, sorry. I didn't start off right. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. AEW Dynamite is live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it just feels so significant because you have the Owen Hart Cup final. Sad. Rest in peace. Obviously, one of the best wrestlers to ever kind of do it, Owen Hart. We have the Owen Hart Cup coming. We have the finals. It's going to be dope. The winner gets the #1 title shot at the women's and men's. And it's going to be decided at All in Wembley Stadium. It's huge. This tonight, Dynamite airing right now. Can't wait to watch it. Have it on record. If you have a burning question about it, or if you just want to say something about it, you can put it in the chat. Like I'm when it comes to spoilers, I get those. I get this with my friends all the time. They're like, I'm like, hey, dude, how was the movie? They're like, oh, I can't really tell you because I don't want to spoil too much of it. I'm like, dude, honestly, like, you could spoil something, and then, like, once when you finally watch it, you'd be like, damn, dude, I still think that's pretty cool. So, obviously, if you're in the chat section, you want to hit up what happened on Dynamite, would be, pretty freaking sick. But I don't know, it's pretty crazy right now. Obviously, we're heading toward, Blood and Guts, All In, and also All Out. Excuse me, three of the top major pay-per-views of AEW. So I don't know, it should be pretty awesome. First and foremost, something that I kind of wanted to address. You're gonna see, and obviously MJF come out, talk about what he did to Daniel Garcia. MJF finally turns heel. Took a little while, but then a little while was like a month and a half. But for him, he's just so good as a heel. And it just kind of sucks because I love MJF. I've recently become a fan of AEW, probably approximately like 6 months ago. But I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on MJF, and I mean that sincerely. And when I say that, I just mean that literally you kind of have the company on your back, bro. Like, there's no more Cody, there's no more Jade, there's no more CM Punk, there's no more of these guys. Like, you see the ratings of AEW ever since Punk quit in 2023. It went from 950,000 viewers, touching a million here and there, down to 800, down to 700, down to 600. There was a couple of, predicaments where you saw it go down to 500,000 viewers. So, obviously a lot of pressure on MJF. It's not, honestly, I kind of feel like it's unfair. But right now he's so over with the company that if there's anybody that's going to take AEW into the next level, it has to be MJF. Maxwell, Jacob, Freeman, I'm better than you, and you know. All right, so we have our first match. We have men's Owen Hart Cup tournament finals. The Hangman Adam Page taking on the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Just out of fanfare. Obviously, I would like to see Bryan Danielson come back, but he's been riddled with injuries, talking about his neck injury on social media, talking to multiple wrestling news outlets. And then you saw Hangman Adam Page straight up come up, and he absolutely dissed the Elite. He dissed Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, also Kazuchika Okada and Jack Perry, the whole stable and stuff like that. When they thought bringing in this wild card would ultimately benefit the Elite, Hangman Adam Page is out for blood. He doesn't want anything to do with the Elite. Perhaps maybe there could be, kind of like a character turn, which is, I feel like at this point it's kind of highly doubtful based on the way AEW's been handling the promotions, the storylines, and kind of the matches, the ending of matches in terms of pay-per-views and stuff like that. Because if you think about it, the Elite has kind of gotten everything they've ever wanted. Matthew Nicholas Jackson wins the AEW World Tag Team titles. Okada defeats Eddie Kingston for the Continental Championship. Jack Perry wins that ladder match. I feel like right now all the dice, all the bowling pins are kind of rolling and kind of falling in their favor. Something needs to go wrong. Something needs to go wrong for the Elite to kind of just to spice things up. But I'm not saying that because I'm a hater of the Elite. I respect, all four competitors. Definitely think they're, high end. Definitely think they're, fuego. But it's just right now on Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, you're just seeing the same thing over and over again. I don't want to see Matthew Nicholas Jackson come out every single gosh darn episode. Be like, oh, this person's barred from the building. Oh, you should have thought about that before you challenged the Elite. Me and my brother. Like, give it a rest. Right now, for a successful storyline to develop within any kind of wrestling promotion, WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, you need to have a little bit of turmoil. You need to have a little bit of downs. And right now, the Elite has been nothing but on top. Has been nothing but on top. So I feel like this is a great way for Hangman Adam Page to win this match and to be like, you know what? I'm not coming back to Elite. I don't trust you guys. So, definitely think that's in the future. Love Bryan Danielson, but, for his own, sake, I think he's going to lose this match. Now, then we have the women's Owen Hart Cup Tournament Championship between Willow Nightingale against Mariah May. Love Mariah May. Love the position that she is. Obviously she's the confidant. She's the protege of Timeless Tony Storm, the AEW World Women's Champion. But then you have Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale coming off a win from her biggest foe, yet her biggest best friend. This could be a foreshadowing for a multiple, reasons or multiple different kind of aspects of it. I can see Willow winning mostly because, she's been there before. She's a former Owen Hart Cup champion winner, and she has a lot of experience within the ring. And, her beating Chris Statlander could have basically, and getting rid of her within her stable with Stokely could have very much been that nail that you had to take out of the coffin before you could open it up. And I was like, dude, I want to start my new career. So Willow Nightingale, could take it like that. Or tonight, you see Willow Nightingale being screwed over by a bitter, by a harsh, by a former best friend, Chris Statlander. And then you have Mariah May taking on Timeless Tony Storm at All In. I don't know what storyline plays the best. To be honest, I would probably choose the Mariah May taking on Tony Storm. You kind of have that, that mutual respect, but then like Tony Storm, like, she becomes a little disgruntled, maybe becomes a little, kind of, you know, feels obsolete because her little sister, well, even Mariah May even kind of considered her like a mother figure, although they made out on Dynamite like 2 weeks ago, which is kind of weird. But th- I don't know. It could be interesting. I feel like they will sell more tickets. Having Mariah May fight Tony Storm at All In, having a huge buildup, but then Willow Nightingale's so great. Willow Nightingale, the moment she wins that match, she's gonna be the baby face. She's gonna be the one, and then Timeless Tony Storm's gonna have to deal with it. Then we have a Stampede Street fight. Chris Jericho fights Samoa Joe. Obviously, you're going to see Samoa Joe getting some company from Hook. Also, Konosuke Shibata, Katsuyori. I think it's Katsuyori Shibata. Don't quote me on that. And then you're going to see Chris Jericho. You're going to see the Learning Tree come out. Global four-way glory match. We have Claudio Castagnoli against Kyle Fletcher, against Pac, and against Tomohori Ishii. And we also have Swerve Strickland returning tonight to Dynamite. Also, we will hear from the AEW International Champion Will Ospreay. Ospreay. Can't wait. Can't wait to watch Dynamite tonight. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our third segment. We're going to talk about the men's wrestling power ranking. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, talking all things professional wrestling, AEW, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Stardom, New Japan Professional Wrestling. Excuse me, sorry. Just got done eating some dinner. I get home from my job, like around like 7, I'm like, okay, I have my podcast, So then I just wolfed down a whole bunch of food. Sorry, I did not mean to, kind of destroy have you ever burped on your first date? I don't even know why that kind of popped up to me. I was like, you know what? If you have, hit me up in the chat section. Let me know your, most embarrassing moment during the first date. Honestly, during the first date, I gotta be honest, strictly, I farted. I farted during the first date. I was sitting down, didn't think it was gonna come out. We were in the booth, and I believed it was like a BJ's Brew House. She came over. It was like one of those round booths. I sat down, and the server's like, "Oh, what can we get you started a drink today?" Well, I handed us the menu. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna," because she's coming in from the left side. So I was like, "Okay," and then all of a sudden you hear the like, I was like, "Oh like what the f just happened right now?" I was so embarrassed. I kind of tried to play it off, you know. You see those leather seats. You're like, "Oh damn, like these leather seats are kind of crazy." And she kind of looked at me, she smiled, and the server was looking at me like, "Dude, are you serious right now? You're gonna blame our fucking chairs, dude? Are you serious?" I'm just kidding. No, but it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. But once again, we're gonna talk about our men's power rankings presented by the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to use the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Your question gets moved on to the top of the list if you use the GSMC GSMCpodcast.net. Shoot me your comments, questions, and concerns. Once again, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity 110%. Also like, subscribe, follow the show and the network at the gsmcpodcast.net. So yeah, don't be too shy to kind of do that. So let's go ahead and get started on this. I was having, kind of having technical difficulties a little earlier. Let's see if we're going to have the graphic come up. If not, we're going to have to, well, looks like, all right. So looks, technology once again, you got to love technology. So we're going to have to freestyle it. So at number 10, I have Joe Hendry. Say his name, man. He appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. So at number 10, I have Joe Hendry. The TNA superstar makes it across the Forbidden Door once again for WWE NXT. You saw him in the number one contenders match for, to determine who was going to fight Trick Williams at NXT Heat Wave. Obviously didn't really, matter because you kind of had four guys come out of it. But it was a good match. It was a great match, like much what I talked about on my NXT kind of review, that this guy looks like he's made for WWE. I'm sorry. He looks like he's already levels above. He looks like, he has the fan support. He has even international. Even international loves Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry's debut on WWE NXT outsurfaced, also outshined Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, and also Kazuchika Okada. All three of their debuts put together. That's huge. That's absolutely dynamite. Love to see Joe Hendry. Love that, he's finally getting the recognition that he kind of deserves. At number 9, I have Damian Priest. I do have Damian Priest, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Man, let's just face it. Let's just talk real. He botched a kick out on a major WWE forum. Especially it was major for Paul Levesque. This was Paul Levesque's first shot at WWE Money in the Bank, and Damian Priest blew it. He blew it 1,010%. He didn't make it look believable. Then Drew McIntyre came out. It was a huge mess. It was crazy. 1,000, it was bedlam. Absolutely bedlam. But he is our WWE World Heavyweight Championship holder. And Triple H even said post show of Money in the Bank said that he doesn't really care. He still stands firmly behind Damian Priest. But that was bad. For Damian Priest to kind of do that, he literally went from like 3 or 4 last week on my list down all the way to number 9. Once again, he can't win a match. He can't retain a championship without the help of the Judgment Day or just something weird happening. So, could he have the word transitional champion written all over his face? Maybe, possibly, most likely, in my opinion. Which kind of sucks because I had high hopes for Damian Priest, especially when he was coming up. He was kind of like that lone wolf, not like a bootleg Baron Corbin kind of look, but he kind of had that same mentality where he'd come out, do the bow and arrow and stuff like that. I'm all by myself. I'm the lone wolf. No one's on my side. Then he joined the Nightmare, not the Nightmare, the Judgment Day, and it's been different. It's been different. At number 8, I have Tatsuyori Naito. Recently beat Jon Moxley for the IWGP Championship at AEW Forbidden Door. Once again, you kind of have a New Japan Professional Wrestling on this list. You have them, kind of becoming more of a, kind of like a bigger conglomerate. Becoming, once when they became partners with Tony Kahn, and Tony Kahn absorbed Ring of Honor, also New Japan Professional Wrestling. I don't know, you've just been seeing sort of a lot of superstars from New Japan Professional Wrestling finally get that recognition that they deserve their whole entire career. At number 7, I got Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn successfully defeats Braun Breaker and retains his WWE Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank. This was huge for Sam. This was pretty big. Once again, Sami slain, another dragon slain, another giant slain, another guy that's probably, 10 times, that could probably rep him, on the bench, on the bench press. But Sami didn't let that get to him. Gotta love Sami. Obviously, you have the Canada hometown boy. So I didn't really think Sami Zayn was going to lose all that much, but it was huge for Braun Breaker. Then you saw the promo with Braun Breaker on Monday Night Raw. where mid-sentence he was like, "Well, Sammy, and then he went to attack him with the spear, and you're like, dude, like, what does that even prove? I get it. I get that the Steiner brothers are absolutely like, you can't reason with them. Rick Steiner did that. Also, Scott Steiner within WCW, Braun Breaker's his uncle. It's it's not the same type of wrestling anymore. And this type of promotion is kind of trash. 1010%. I feel like WWE is kind of destroying Braun Breaker's character. If worse comes worse, send it back to, NXT. But what they're doing right now with the TNA collaborations, maybe perhaps a National Wrestling Alliance in the future, I really don't see any, place for Braun Breaker. But right now, WWE needs to figure something out because this isn't working. The squash matches, the, impromptu attacks, the melees. It's not good. It's not good TV. All right, and next at number 6 we have Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa from the Bloodline defeated Cody Rhodes at Money in the Bank, but we all knew that was going to happen. This needed to happen. Solo Sikoa ultimately needs so much more momentum, needs to go on this absolute winning tear. So eventually, once when Roman Reigns comes back to WWE, for it to be kind of even Bloodline Civil War. But yeah, at number 5 I have Obafemi, the NXT North American champion, still killing it. Defeated Wes Lee at NXT Heatwave, which thank God. Nothing against Wes Lee, but Obafemi is way too dominant to kind of let his reign kind of go to crap because he comes back from this neck injury, and it was very impressive. I was told I was never going to wrestle or walk again. I love that. That's cool. I love that he was gonna, be able to walk or wrestle again. I love, that battle he comes back from. But, you need to have at least one heel champion. And I feel like you have Roxanne Perez on NXT. And then now you have Ethan Page before you had Trick Williams. So you have Obafemi. People love Obafemi. Even in the crowd, you still see people they're mentioning like a Nigerian kind of chant. Reminds me of like the chant they did with Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman, also Boswick, on the Black Panther franchise and on Disney for Marvel. Definitely love that. Definitely think that's kind of cool. Bringing some cultural value into any kind of wrestling, promotions. Pretty badass. All right, at number 4 we have Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe, 1,010%, still killing it, still the representative of Ring of Honor. Also on AEW Dynamite, he's had his fair share of wins. Recently lost the ladder match to Jack Perry. But dude, honestly, why would you even want the AEW TNT Championship? You're the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. Dude, you got to deal with that stuff. Just, brush that dirt off your shoulder. You got to brush that dirt off your shoulder. So Mark Briscoe is just going to be more amazing. It's going to be more amazing coming up. At number 3, I have the new NXT World Champion, Ethan Page, all ego. And he deserves to be this high. He deserves to be this high because of 2 reasons. Reason number 1, came from AEW, took an opportunity that he had with WWE, made the best of it. And reason number 2 is that and I'm going to get a lot of Trick Williams lovers kind of on my case here, but he's just a better champion than Trick Williams. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like ultimately the way he cuts promos, the way like he made his debut and he absolutely just pissed everybody off in the audience. While at the same time, he put the other superstars on NXT kind of on blast, but at the same time, he acquired his target. He knew Trick Williams would do crazy things to get his hands on Ethan Page. Lured him into a fatal 4-way match at NXT Heatwave on Sunday. Took advantage of it. That's an evil genius. Made a plan, killed it, won a title from it. Now is tippy top dog of WWE NXT. At number 2, obviously, I have Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes still is the undisputed WWE champion. Didn't really lose credibility losing against Solo Sikoa at Money in the Bank. We all kind of knew that was going to happen. I have him at number 2 because he's still solely kind of holding the WWE on his back. Imagine in some crazy, and I'm not trying to jinx him, imagine in some kind of crazy alternative universe where Cody Rhodes goes down with an injury. Who's going to represent the company? A lot of people have this speculation that Solo Sikoa will defeat Cody Rhodes for the WWE Undisputed Championship at SummerSlam, but I still think that's too close. That's too soon. Obviously, they're kind of building up toward the blood. I feel like if that ultimately happens, that kind of diminishes Cody Rhodes' story, his character development within WWE. But I don't know. We're digging on into more. We'll dig in more into that as soon as it happens. At number one, I have my man, the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland. Let's swerve when I drive. Yes, to swerve when I drive. Let's be rushing mine. He's number one because he's proved himself. Out of all the champions you see, obviously Cody Rhodes, yeah, he did win some pretty big matches. But those were matches that you were like, dude, Cody's going to win. Every single match I saw Swerve fight in, defending his title, I was like, oh, this could be the end of, Swerve Strickland's reign before it gets started. But that didn't happen. Swerve Strickland was able to prove the naysayers wrong, prove why he is the number one wrestler in the whole entire world on my top 10 wrestling power rankings for the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. Not Swerve when I drive. Yes, Swerve when I drive. Yes, Swerve. We'll be back. Swerve when I.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host here. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez, here every Monday through Friday. At 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, talking all things professional wrestling. So we recently got done talking about our men's wrestling power rankings. So without further ado, we're going to talk about our women's. Having technical difficulties, tried getting the graphics up. I rebooted my computer. I've, done basically, I really hope it's nothing too crazy. Hopefully there's just a glitch in my Wi-Fi. Spectrum! I'm just kidding. Anyways, so let's dig on into my number 10 is Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer, although, she has recently lost her championship, the New Japan Professional Wrestling Women's Strong Championship, to Mercedes Moné at All Elite Forbidden Door. She's recently signed a contract with WWE. It's been inked. It's been penned. It's crazy. But despite the loss, huge talent surrounding her. Absolutely dynamite inside the ring. Don't really want any women's division being represented by anybody short of spectacular. And that's Stephanie Vaquer. 1,010%. I love her. Definitely think she's one of the best wrestlers that, it's kind of hidden under the radar for the longest time. Obviously, she's the first time on this list. So I can't be like, oh, you guys were hitting her under your radar. You selfish pigs. You guys are bastards. Just kidding. No. I'll be like, because I kind of did it too. Like, I should have, kind of witnessed that a little bit more. At number 9, I have the WWE Women's Champion, Bayley. Bayley, she's still kicking. She's still kind of kicking. Obviously, Nia Jax is on her tail. It would be a huge shock, absolutely huge shock, that Bayley retains the championship at SummerSlam against Nia Jax. SummerSlam is 3 weeks from Saturday at Cleveland Browns Stadium. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a banger. We're going to have a banger after banger after banger. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be a great match between Nia Jax and Bayley, but you're ultimately going to see Nia Jax, and then maybe a cash in. It's tippy time. Like maybe that would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. At number 8, I got Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, although she recently lost well, not recently, like about a month ago, lost her TBS championship to Mercedes Moné. Is still, she's still kicking. She's still, for proving why she's still a champion. She's the 2-time Owen Hart Cup winner. Obviously, I don't know what happened tonight on Dynamite. Can't wait to watch it. Hopefully she became a 2-time Owen Hart Cup champion. And, she's going to face a timeless Tony Storm at All Elite. No, at All In Wembley Stadium. Hopefully, obviously that's kind of what I want to see. But, yeah, honestly, Low Willow Nightingale at number 8, I have her. Number 7, you have Mariah May. Mariah May makes her debut on this list. Mariah May, she is, I don't want to say she's conniving, because I feel like there was a point between when Mina Shirakawa and the timeless Tony Storm, the AEW World Women's Champion, I feel like she kind of played them against each other. I feel like she kind of leads on more than, than she pretends she knows, which is, classic wrestling, heel. I'm just wondering if she's going to be able to fight her protege, her confidant, her, she's a mother figure, Tony Storm. AEW, establishing this storyline. It's taken a little while. Mariah May is obviously a rising star with All Elite Professional Wrestling. So it would be absolutely no surprise if she wins this match. Also, Willow Nightingale. Both of those girls are the future of AEW. But man, Mariah May's killing it. At number 7, I got Mariah May. At number 6, I have the NXT World Women's Champion Roxanne Perez defeating Lola Vice. It did take 4 Prop Rocks, but at the end, it finally happened. You have Roxanne Perez at number 6. At number 5, you still got to, although she's been kind of, hidden under the radar, kind of keeping it low within the last couple of months after debuting on WWE NXT, have the TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace was my number 1 for a pretty long time, but I am finally waiting for her to fight someone who is worth, just who's kind of notable for me to be like, oh, like Jordynne Grace defeated that person. That's pretty awesome. And I'm not saying her loss against Roxanne Perez kind of diminished her credibility or her reputation in terms of professional wrestling, but it, ever since then, she bounced back. She defeated Tatum Paxley. I think she defeated Ash by Elegance. I'm not too sure if they fought yet, but I want to see more from Jordynne Grace. I want to see more for her, but she's had the title for so damn long. She's been so dominant. Much like you see Rhea Ripley, you kind of have that, TNA looking at it as like, dude, okay, and TNA does not have the luxury of 2 women's championships. They only have 1. So like, dude, like, okay, do we really want to have such a huge dominant champion like Jordynne Grace? Jordynne Grace could perhaps be moving toward, kind of like a ghost role where she, she fights, she probably loses the championship, but once again, she, maybe goes on vacation and stuff like that, shows up here and there. I feel like ultimately that would be, kind of the right spot for Jordynne Grace right now. At number 4, we have Rhea Ripley. Mommy returns on WWE Raw, confronting Dominic Mysterio and his little girlfriend, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan finally breaks Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio lets the crowd in on his obsession with Liv Morgan. He absolutely loves her. 1,010%. So then you saw, at the end of Raw, you saw them kind of come together, Rhea Ripley and Dom highly apologizing, trying to buy favorites back with Rhea. But Liv Morgan never put Dominic Mysterio in that position. Dominic Mysterio to Rhea Ripley, he's kind of Rhea Ripley's, kind of B-word. In the Liv Morgan relationship, you kind of have him as Daddy Dom. No doubt in my mind, Liv Morgan's she's going to kind of use this. She's going to javelin this for her to, defeat Rhea Ripley. She still has her rematch clause. If Rhea Ripley loses her rematch clause, she has to start all the way from the bottom. The Liv Revenge Tour moves on. So could that be a possibility? I think 1,010% that could be. At number 2, we have the timeless Tony Storm, the AEW World Champion. She was number 1 about 2 weeks ago, but she's amazing. You can't beat up the timeless Tony Storm. But at number 1, and for the longest time I was like, dude, this girl will not be number 1 on my list at all. We have Mercedes Moné. Moné talks, baby. Like, man, Mercedes Moné is becoming a heel before your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. And it's to the point where I was like, at first, I was like, dude, why are they giving her so much? And then she comes out and she's like, oh, I deserve this and I deserve that. And all the crowd was like, yes, yes, you came back from an injury. You deserve that, Mercedes. Broken foot, like, oh my God, we love you in AEW. But then she keeps pandering to the crowd. The crowd's like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, Mercedes, yeah, keep going. And then the third time she does it, you're like, all right. It's getting kind of old. And the fourth time she does it, then you have Britt Baker come back. And even people in the Chicago crowd last week were like, shut the, shut the, like they were telling her to shut the F up. It was crazy. It was cool. It was awesome. Love Mercedes Moné now. As a heel, love her. As a babyface, not so much. But as a heel, 1010% love Mercedes Moné. Well, guys, do not go anywhere. We're going to end it with our fifth and final segment. We have my boy Emran's soccer podcast coming up at 9:30, so we're going to end it, try to, a little quickly, than possibly. So we have our Wednesdays weekly wrestling news. So, hey, do not go anywhere. All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez here, every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern, talking all things professional wrestling. And just to kind of reflect on what we talked about real quick, we talked about our WWE NXT review, our AEW Dynamite preview. Our third and fourth segment, we talked about power rankings, the men's and the women's wrestling division in all of wrestling. And for number 5, we have our Wednesday weekly wrestling news. So let's go ahead and dig on into it. So for our first story, we do have Stephanie Vaquer signing with WWE, and you have Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. You had his reaction, and it was, obviously he's super excited. 1010% you have someone new to fight Roxanne Perez. Maybe perhaps someone to finally beat Roxanne Perez, but it's big. This is going to be pretty big. A huge signing by WWE. Honestly, in kind of my opinions, I know she's very, prominent in the, Lucha Libre, territory within, outside of the WWE, but then you have the WWE having collaborations with TNA. Well, not WWE, just NXT. You have NXT kind of collaborating with TNA, maybe perhaps the NWA. And establishing a huge talent like Stephanie Vaquer, that's pretty huge. So essentially her losing the title to Mercedes Moné at All Elite Wrestling Forbidden Door was, just kind of like all right, thank you guys so much. I'm going to give it to someone that can represent the company pretty darn well. All right, next story, we have WWE NXT sees a significant viewership increase for July 9th. And it's not surprising. It's not surprising. It was a great episode. One of the best episodes of WWE NXT in a long time. And I'm not just crediting Joe Hendry for doing what he did, showing up, say his name, man. I feel like I've done that, way, more than often in this podcast. Kind of crazy. But I like Joe Hendry where he's at with WWE right now. I feel like he's a future NXT champion. I feel like he could hold the title ultimately. He has way more of a prominent status in WWE NXT than in TNA Impact Wrestling. And that's huge because he deserves it. He does, he's been around the world. He's, fought in a Ring of Honor. I believe, and also fought in independent wrestling circuits and stuff like that. He's kind of like I don't want to say the bootleg Cody Rhodes. I'm just kidding. No, I hope that doesn't go viral. Joe Hendry is the bootleg Cody Rhodes. I'm just kidding. With the bleached hair and stuff like that. I'm just kidding. But there's no surprise to me that this WWE NXT episode got so many damn views. No surprise there. Absolutely, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. All right, so we have more Stephanie Vaquer news. So she also broke silence from her CMLL exit. Kind of crazy, kind of interesting. When you kind of become, a star of WWE, I feel like ultimately they're kind of like, all right, we're going to sign you, but we kind of need you because we have storylines that need your attention, I guess you can say, if that makes any sense. Or, we do have bookings that we do NXT, WWE, that's something that they kind of put their wrestling superstars, through. That's the reason why a lot of WWE superstars kind of leave, like Mercedes Moné kind of left. The reason why it's kind of scrutinized by Becky Lynch is because, you're kind of on live tours. You do not really have any free time for yourself. Not at all. You're always traveling hotel room after hotel room. That's the reason why Alicia Fox did not want to come back to WWE because the grinding Triple H be like, oh, a lot of people can't take the grind. Dude, it's because your father-in-law did something with the grind that was, he hated when people took time off to see their family on holidays. Like, that's terrible. Vince McMahon was like that. And it was just, and now Triple H is kind of like, obviously, he's trying to play a little more sensitive. Obviously, there's still some gray areas that I feel like we have not really discovered about Paul Levesque or the Paul Levesque era with WWE. Ryback said in an interview that Triple H was one of the worst. He was honestly, according to Ryback, he was one of the worst promoters. He was one of the worst, kind of bosses and stuff like that because he would always try to strong arm you, always try to take advantage of, when you have that person at work when it's like, they come in, they're like, oh, I want to take advantage of this nice employee. He always does whatever they need to do, mostly because in WWE, it's like, yeah, I need the exposure and the money. In like the real world, you're like, oh, I need the money, so I can't really say no. So, a lot of people kind of, compare Vince McMahon and Triple H in that sort of aspect, especially with Bruce Pritchard still around the WWE, which kind of still, still scares, superstars and stuff like that. But yeah, honestly, kind of crazy. Next, we have Tony Khan claims AEW's next media rights deal will give them a very secure future. And it will. 1,010%. If you complete this deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, you will have a place to put your pay-per-views, much like you have WWE doing it with Peacock. AEW pay-per-views will be on HBO Max. Well, Max, I think it's called right now. Kind of stupid how they, let's just drop the HBO and we'll just name it Max. Imagine the production meeting that you're like, yeah, dude, that's cool. But then it's the richest guy in the room who says it, and you're a yes man. You're like, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. I wish I would have thought of that. Wow, you're amazing. You make the big bucks, the reason why you make them. But in reality, you're like, dude, that was dumb as hell. But I mean, kind of crazy. But AEW needs to be on HBO Max. 1,010%. You have video library content right there. Recently, cutting deals with Ring of Honor and New Japan Professional Wrestling. And you also have the National Wrestling Alliance wanting to kind of branch out, wanting to kind of have their video content library, synonymous with wrestling. And what's more wrestling than, I don't want to say HBO is not so much wrestling, because I feel like when it comes to Showtime, you think of boxing. When it comes to Peacock, you think about WWE. Pay-per-view, you think about wrestling. Obviously, Ring of Honor Club, you think of Ring of Honor, TNA. But this would be absolutely huge. This is something that AEW cannot sit on for the longest time. And according to sources, they've sat on this deal for a pretty long time. So if they lose this deal, this could very much be the end of AEW. So Tony Khan, once again in the news, claims that he never spoken to Shane McMahon. And, that wasn't really the case. That wasn't really the reason why Shane McMahon possibly joined AEW was like a huge possibility, so to speak. It was the fact that I believe it was Mercedes Moné kind of met up with Shane McMahon met him up randomly. at an airport, kind of touched base. Shane McMahon ultimately told, Mercedes Moné what he wants to do with his career. I feel like, obviously you have the wrestling media, jumping up more than a lot of people do and that kind of refreshment and stuff like that. But obviously that's media. That's what media always does. They're always one step ahead. If it's totally asinine and wrong, doesn't matter. Still gets clicks. If it's right and it's asinine, still gets clicks. Like it's just the same stuff and stuff like that. So, absolutely love that. It's going to be more crazier, more than ever. So, Tony Kahn and AEW need to just sack up, sign the petition, sign the contract with HBO Max and Warner Brothers Discovery. You can't really hold out for anything better than that, especially 1,010%. Well, guys, that was my show. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed professional wrestling. So we're gonna, I guess that's it. Hope you guys had an amazing hump day. Don't think it like that, you sickos. Wednesday night, goes down. You have Thursday and Friday going downhill. It's all downhill from here. Looking forward to the weekend. So yeah, put a smile on your face. Let me see that beautiful smile. Thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Here on the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity all the time. And don't forget to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Also follow the show and the GSMC Sports Network. Also, we invite you guys to follow us on Twitter /X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok for more content and updates. And if I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, I urge you guys to check out some of our other podcasts, which is absolutely 110% free. We have Garrison with golf and hockey. We have my boy, Tommy with college football. College football is heating up. We have football with the Chip Shot Football podcast with Manny. Also Kenneth. We also have Sam with baseball, TJ and Jeremy with sports, the Andrew Tate podcast. We also have Nelson on basketball, women's hoops and heels, your one-stop shop for women's sports, MMA, the Olympics, the WNBA, tennis, you name it, Samantha has it covered. And we have my boy Chris. If y'all are looking for fantasy advice, if y'all are looking, my draft is in approximately, what's the date? July 10th is in approximately like a month. So, make sure you watch this podcast to decide who you're going to draft first, kind of structure your draft around what Chris kind of tells you and stuff like that. Absolutely electric, 1,010%. The shows here on the GSMC Sports Podcast is amazing, 1,010%. Don't miss these guys. Be part of the GSMC Sports Club. Well, guys, that's it for me. Have an amazing night. Stay safe, stay beautiful, but most importantly, tune in tomorrow. Like I said, I'm the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. I am the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. I didn't say that by accident. I'm just kidding. But I kind of am. Make sure you tune into the show Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time on the GSMC Sports Network. Once again, thank you, and hey, have a beautiful night.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't